Lately, I've been researching what AI and the new technologies have been changing in the game industry. And what I found so far, it's not really that surprising. There's, of course, more solo developers. Small teams can do more than they ever did before. Friction is less abundant. But at the same time, there is an expectation for better quality on the games. There's therefore more competition, and this just makes the bar go up. So now, more than ever, the question is not who can make the games. Basically, with the right tools, anyone can make a game. But more, how can an indie developer survive all of the competition? The question is not anymore, what tools should I use, but more, how can I organize myself to be at the top? Now, to answer that, I wanted to take a look into what studios are actually doing something right in this new age that's making them succeed this way. And I come up into very interesting strategies from some indie developers that I found fascinating, especially in nowadays. One of them is Strange Scaffold Games. They release 18 games in 6 years. That means they're releasing about a game every 6 months to a year. And their head of studio, Salavier Nelson Jr., who's been appearing in podcasts and events in the last years a ton, is always talking about sustainable development, which basically means iteratively publishing new games and making those games help them build the next ones instead of only relying on publishers.
What I'd say at this stage for me, how I make games is I never want to start a game that I can't survive finishing. A big part of this is because when I started my studio, I'd worked on something like 40 games. And I would talk to friends who had made games that literally changed the industry. And they didn't look kindly upon those games because they're like, oh yeah, that game was great, but it didn't make enough money to recoup, so the team had to come apart. And I was like, man, if a game makes pizza money, I want to build the type of studio where that's still a victory. So we have games that have not performed as well as others, but I built a structure where no matter how well a project performed commercially, for the most part, we could still be happy we made that game.
This way, he quickly transformed his studio into a very sustainable one. Still being indie, no endless projects, no heroic suffering, actually shipping games. Another strong example is the YouTuber and game developer Tim Ruswick. His aim is to help developers have a structure where they can finish games and not spend years iterating through the same thing or never doing them at all. I will leave a link to his channel in the description. His message is very clear. Finishing is a skill, not an accident.
One thing I just want to go back to real quick is when you look at this, so many people quit right here because they're not prepared for this phase. This is the old way, remember? So they have an idea, they go into dev, they deal with this giant ball of yarn that is game development, and then they quit somewhere in here, and they don't know why they quit, but guess what? They quit with no launch. You know how demotivating this is? You know how much it sucks right here, dude? To quit, spend all this time, like I spent, like 4 years.
And then we have Adam Saltzman. Sometimes working as a solo developer, sometimes with a team or a publisher like Finji Studios. This guy developed and published 13 games in 2025. He's always talking in conferences and events about his approach to making small games. He doesn't rush his games. He just intentionally scopes the games, builds them, and publishes them.
Partly, how to make games better, how to have more fun doing it, because I think that might be really important. And part one of this talk is going to be talking about doing things that are easy and not obvious. Part two of this talk is going to be about separating ideas from formulas and how you can use that to have more fun while you work and work a little more quickly maybe. And part three is going to be about noticing.
All of these developers and studios have different styles, but the same results. They're not relying on motivation, they're relying on structure. Before AI and all the modern pipelines, developers were limited by the power of the tools they were using. This bottleneck basically doesn't exist anymore. The new problem, the new bottleneck is decision making. What to build, what to cut, when to stop iterating, when to ship. This is something that AI won't make a decision for you to actually finish it. And more tools won't reduce that responsibility. As a fact, the more power you have, the more discipline you're gonna need. I guess Uncle Ben would have something to say about that right now.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Without a structure, this power is just gonna mean a bigger scope, longer timelines, and more unfinished games. The developers that survive this shift are not the ones using more tools, but the ones who learn how to finish their games. So what should you do if you're developing a game right now? You have to ask yourself first a question. Is your game already fun? If it's fun, you have to immediately start setting a release date. Not a vague one, but a real one. Because once the game is fun, the biggest risk is not quality, is never letting the game exist. And if the game is not fun yet, you need to test it every week. Gather a group of friends and cook something for them on the weekends. Try to make it as fun as possible, so every time they meet with you, even though they know they have to pass through the hassle of playing the game again, they will still enjoy it. That's what I did, and eventually the game ended up being fun. So they were enjoying the game and enjoying the time with me. And with this help, you're eventually quickly going to understand and see what makes the game fun and when it is. And after you've done that, in both cases, when you finally have a fun game, you have to start estimating. You have to write down all the features and set a delivery date and focus on getting through that. If you don't know exactly how to estimate every feature that you have in your game, I have another video talking specifically about that might help you if you want to understand that part better. But once that date exists, something changes. Now, your work has direction, your creativity has boundaries, and progress becomes visible. So I'll say this again. If you're developing a game and it is already fun, you need to protect it by setting a release date. And if it's not fun yet, you need to have a structure to test it as quick as possible with your ideas until you get to that point. And in both cases, you need a method that helps you decide, cut, and commit. That is how games get finished in today's industry. If you want a complete framework for doing this with a small team or as a solo developer, I have a course called Scrum for Indie Game Development. The link is in the description. It is specifically built for people who want to ship without burning out. Talent starts games, but structure finishes them. You're just a visionary. Ended up being very challenging. Best indie manager. Organize our Scrum boards. You might not make it in time and you might end up being a mess. Keep a clear communication, but not overloaded. Polish, juice. It's It's about creating a long-lasting experience for the future.